Today I am going to deal you regarding the second PUC syllabus of the first unit, human reproduction. Under that, today I am going to explain you about sex determination. How actually the sex is determined. What is sex and at what stage the sex is determined. Sex of the child is determined. Now, what is sex in the sense? Sex is the status of an individual, whether to be a male or female. When it is determined and how is determined? Sex is determined at the time of fertilization itself. So, fertilization, as you are aware, that the fusion of haploid male and the haploid female gamete fused together to form a zygote or fertilized egg. During this process of the fertilization itself, the sex of the baby or sex of the forthcoming child is determined, not after fertilization, remember. Now, the sex determination in case of man is XX, XY type. I hope you know that in man there are 46 chromosomes. 2n is equal to 46 chromosomes. 2n stands for what? Diploid number. What do you mean by a diploid number? Presence of two haploid sets of chromosomes is called diploid. If you write only one n, that is haploid number. The haploid number of the chromosomes in man is n is equal to 23. So, whereas 2n is equal to 46 in the sense, out of 46 we received 23 chromosomes from father, that is called paternal chromosomes, and another 23 is received from mother, that is called maternal chromosomes. So, these two together form 46. Now, the type of sex determination, as I said earlier, is XX, XY type. XX in the sense, it is the sex chromosomes. Even XY is also a sex chromosome. For example, in male individual, there are 46 chromosomes. Out of that, 44 are autosomes. Here I have written A, 2A. That means the double natured A indicates that it is in diploid condition. 44 are autosomes. Autosomes determine what? Body characters. Except sex, all other characters are controlled by these 44 chromosomes. Whereas X, Y are the sex chromosomes which determine the sex of the child or sex of the individual. In case of female, similarly there are 46 chromosomes. Out of them, 44 are autosomes and the remaining 2 are the sex chromosomes are allosomes. Sex chromosomes can be even called as allosomes. These determine the femaleness of the individual. That means, so this 44 AAXY and 44 AAXX are the chromosomal complements of both male and female individual respectively. Now let us know how actually and how many types of the gametes are produced. In male, remember the sex chromosomes are X, Y, which are not homologous. They are heterologous chromosomes. So now, here, during gametic formation, two types of the sperms are produced. So this represents the flagella or the tail of the sperm. One type contains 22 autosomes. Here I have written what? The haploid condition, remember, only single A and single X. This is the haploid number. And the another sperm is carrying 22 autosomes and one Y chromosome. Now, in case of female, as there are two X chromosomes, both of them are what? Homologous chromosomes. Hence, in female, only one type of egg is formed. That egg carries the 22 autosomes and one X chromosome. Now observe how the sex of the forthcoming the child or baby is determined. Remember, it is not the egg which determines the sex of the individual, but it is the type of the sperm which fertilizes the egg, decides or determines the sex of the child. For example, if at all X carrying sperm fertilizes the egg, then the individual is a girl or female child. If at all the Y carrying sperm fertilizes the egg, then the male individual or male child is determined. From this, what you can assess or what you can conclude? We can conclude that it is the type of the sperm which determines the sex of the individual during fertilization. It is not the egg, because egg is of only one type, but it is the sperm which is of two types which determine the sex of the individual during fertilization. This is about the sex determination. After this, now let us know what is implantation. In the previous class, we have studied in detail where actually the fertilization occurs, what may be the resultant product of the fertilization and where it occurs, like that. Now the fertilization occurs in the ampullary region of the fallopian tube, resulting in what? Resulting in a diploid zygote or a fertilized egg. Now, this fertilized egg or the zygote undergoes a series of developmental process. So, the division of the egg or division of the zygote by mitosis without growth is called cleavage. Remember, the mitotic division of an egg or zygote without growth is called cleavage, and the resultant cells are called blastomeres. So, blastomeres are the resultant cells of what? Cleavage. Now, the zygote undergoes, as I said earlier, mitotic division. The first mitotic division results in what? Two cells. Hence, two equal sized cells. And hence, this is called two-celled state. Next, by another mitosis, it results in four cells. As there are two, by mitotic division results in four. Then the four results in what? 8 cells. That is again the mitosis. The complete division up to the birth of a baby, it is only the mitotic. You never come across what? Meiotic division. These 8 cells ultimately form the 16-celled stage. So this mass of cells, the stage with mass of cells, can be referred as what? Morula stage. Morula is a solid mass of cells. And the resultant product are all what? The blastomeres. What are blastomeres? They are the resultant cells of cleavage. The cleavage ends by the formation of what? The morula stage. Then the morula ultimately organized into another stage by name blastula stage. This blastula is even referred as what? Blastocyst in man. So this is blastocyst or blastula. Now this blastocyst consists of what and what? It is a small spherical structure consisting of an outermost layer of cells called tropoblast, an inner cell mass enclosing a cavity called blastocele. Blastocele is filled with fluid. This is filled with fluid. Remember, it is the cell mass which forms what? The embryo. Embryo is formed out of this cell mass. By the time it reaches the blastocyst, the blastula reaches what? The uterus, where actually fertilization occurred in the ampullary region of fallopian tube. After ampullary region, which part is found in the fallopian tube? Isthmus region. Now this zygote, as the development proceeds, it slightly moves along the isthmus and reaches what? The uterus. By the time it reaches the uterus, it attained to the, or it reached to the stage called what? Blastocyst, or even called blastula. Blastula, as I said earlier, is a spherical structure surrounded by a tropoblast layer, inner cell mass, which later organized into the embryo, enclosing a cavity called what? Blastocele, filled with the fluid. Now this blastocyst, as I said earlier, reaches the uterus. So it takes nearly of about 7 days, right from zygote to the blastocyst. It takes the 7 days to reach what? The uterus from ampullary region of the fallopian tube. The process of attachment of blastocyst to the wall of uterus is called implantation. Remember? Now, the blastocyst which reached the uterus is get attached to the wall of what? Uterus. How many days it took to travel from the ampullary region of the fallopian tube to reach the uterus? 7 days. In these 7 days, it passed through all these stages and become what? Blastula or blastocyst. Now, the blastocyst get attached to the wall of uterus. The process of attachment of blastocyst to the wall of uterus is called what? Implantation. And the process of implantation occurs or takes nearly of about 5 days. What happened during the implantation? Now observe here, this is the uterus. This is uterus. And this layer is called endometrium. What is endometrium? Endometrium is nothing but the inner wall of the uterus. Now observe the blastocyst attaches to where? The endometrium of the uterus. Which part of the blastocyst come in contact with the uterine wall? It is the trophoblast. Observe here. Now, at the point of contact between trophoblast and uterine wall, so that at the point of this contact, the trophoblast release certain proteolytic enzymes. These enzymes dissolve a small area of the uterine wall, that is endometrium, and that space is enough to accommodate what? The blastocyst. Now the blastocyst enters into the wall of what? Uterus. Now the uterine wall, that is endometrial cells, go on dividing mitotically and ultimately forms a covering around blastocyst like this. As a result of this, the blastocyst is completely embedded in the uterine wall. So now this blastocyst becomes a part of the uterus. When once it is get embedded, this initiates what? The pregnancy. From here afterward, the pregnancy starts. So this is how the implantation occurs in the body of a woman. So this is the detailed process of implantation. Now, let us know about the next part. What happened during the pregnancy? So, of course, implantation initiates what? Pregnancy. And during pregnancy, what is the structure which develops to nourish the developing embryo? Now, that is nothing but what? A placenta. What do you mean by a placenta? Placenta is an organic connection between the fetal and the maternal blood for the exchange of materials. That is from the maternal tissue to fetal tissues and from the fetal tissues into the maternal tissues like that. And this placenta is formed out of the extra embryonic membranes like amnion. This is the one, and the another one chorion. Third one yolk sac, and lastly allantois. Remember, all these four are what? Extra embryonic membranes or fetal membranes. Fetal in the sense what? Embryo. And these membranes are helpful in looking after what? The embryo. And all these membranes remain as such in fishes. So, the reptiles and the birds. But in case of the mammals, all these four together form what? The placenta. Remember, all these extra embryonic membranes are not found in fishes and amphibians. Hence, they are called anomniotes. That means no extra embryonic membranes. Whereas reptiles, birds, and mammals are amniotes because of the presence of these four membranes. Amnion here provides protection. Chorion help in respiration. Yolk sac provide nutrition. Allantois acts as a fetal urinary bladder, or in other words we can say helps in excretion. And these four membranes remain as such with no modification in the reptiles and the birds. But in mammals, particularly in oviparous mammals, not oviparous mammals like egg-laying mammals, here all of them are get modified to form a single structure called placenta. What is placenta by definition? It is an organic connection between the fetal and the maternal blood for exchange of materials. That is from fetal tissue to maternal tissue and from maternal tissue to fetal tissue, like that. Now, let us know what may be the structure of the placenta and what may be its function, like that. The structure is, for example, this is the developing embryo or fetus. From the fetus you can see a stiff rod-like structure that is called the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord actually connects with that of the maternal tissues and provide whatever required to the embryo, and also it is helpful in removing the metabolic waste, carbon dioxide from the embryo into the maternal blood. And then you can see the chorionic villi. The chorionic villi penetrate into the uterine wall and help in the fixation and also help in drawing the nutrients whatever required. Then the embryo is surrounded by what? Amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid acts as a shock absorber. It provides greater protection to the embryo during the pregnancy period. This is the overall structure of what? The placenta. Now let us know about the functions. Remember, regarding the functions, the placenta is helpful in providing nutrients and oxygen from the maternal blood to the fetal blood. The fetus gets its nutrients and oxygen from the mother's blood through placenta. Then, in the fetal embryo, the metabolic waste like carbon dioxide and even the excretory material is formed. If at all it is they are accumulated in the fetal blood, the fetal blood becomes toxic and the fetus may die. Hence, these to be removed from the fetal blood. Hence, carbon dioxide and the excretory waste or excretory material of the fetus is discharged from the fetal blood into the maternal blood for removal through placenta. Then, in addition to that, remember, placenta acts like what? A fetal liver, where actually the glycogen is stored in the initial stages, or in other words, it acts as a liver until the liver of the fetus is developed. Now, in addition to that, the placenta acts as what? Endocrine gland. What do you mean by an endocrine gland? An endocrine gland is the one which secretes hormones. What are hormones? Hormones are nothing but the chemical messengers responsible for growth and development of an individual. Now, this acts as an endocrine gland. It secretes the hormones like HCG, that is the human chorionic gonadotropin hormone. Then, human placental hormone, even estrogen and progesterone. Remember, estrogen and progesterone are the hormones basically are fundamentally secreted by the ovary. But here, even the placenta also secrete these because the progesterone is helpful in maintaining the pregnancy whereas the estrogen along with progesterone is responsible for the development of the reproductive system in the individual. Hence, they are required. Then, at the later stage of the pregnancy, it also secretes what? Relaxin. So, the term itself indicates that relaxin is helpful in relaxation or widening of what? Cervix. What do you mean by a cervix? Cervix is nothing but the neck of the placenta. During delivery, the cervix is narrow actually, but during delivery it is get widened, thereby it favors the delivery process. Thereby the delivery process become easier, and for that this relaxin hormone is the very essential, which is secreted by the placenta itself. In addition to that, it also increases the level of what? Estrogen and progesterone, which are also secreted from ovary, and then prolactin, which is secreted from the anterior lobe of pituitary gland, and then cortisols, which are secreted from the endocrine gland by name what? The suprarenal gland or adrenal gland found above the kidney. And then thyroxine is very essential for the normal growth of the baby. The thyroxine, as you are aware, it is secreted by the thyroid gland. All these are responsible for the normal growth of the child. Observe here, right from year to year, these are all the functions of the placenta, and these are helpful in the normal growth and development of the baby. So, with this, the placental explanation is completed. So, in the next class, I will take up the process of delivery, how it occurs and which influence it. Thank you, Nana.